You are now listening to the Be Your Own #Love Goals podcast with Moe Ari
and Tiffany.
We just want you to remember that every person, regardless of identity, wants these three things: belonging, authenticity, and love.
And after a decade of partnership, we've learned to co-create these things and so much more.
So from wherever you're listening, we're going to go on a journey of becoming our own #Love Goals. Now let's get into this episode. You are now listening to the Be Your Own #Love Goals podcast with Moe Ari
and Tiffany.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank y'all so much. I feel like I am still on a cloud from turning 31. Almost a month ago to the date of this recording.
Where is 30?
If you're listening to this, you should see me right now. It's giving 31 and fabulous, and I'm here for it. But anyway, it's been about a month since my birthday, and I can't help but when I think about my birthday, I feel like now, since 2020, it will always have a direct attachment to our precious Nova, right?
My gosh.
She was born 5 days before my 28th birthday. And I was on my way to the hospital, or on my way to a doctor's appointment on my 28th birthday, because our precious Nova had jaundice, right?
Yeah.
So I was in the hospital close to my birthday. She came early, so it was close. She was supposed to come after my birthday, and we're dealing with her having jaundice, going back and forth to the doctor. Obviously kids go to the doctor a lot when they're younger, but on my birthday we go, she had to be on a lamp to really correct the jaundice. The hospital experience was a story of its own. But the night of my birthday, I remember sitting. Mo had made my favorite dessert. I'm not a big cake eater, so he made a peach cobbler and got me some tacos and all this feast, all the stuff I wanted.
Got
balloons. I feel like I got a new outfit. We were sitting. Our daughter was napping, and it was everything I wanted. All the food and things I wanted here. And I remember being so sad.
Yeah.
Overcome with just, what is life?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah.
My body is physically and literally still adjusting to having given birth 5 days prior. Our daughter is dealing with jaundice, which is scary. Obviously something that can be treated, but we're brand new parents. And I was just like, I never imagined I would be spending my 28th birthday in this way. My sister-in-law was on FaceTime with us. I mean, really, really, really trying to cheer me up.
Singing, just Mel really did her thing.
She tried. And I was just like, this is the worst I have ever felt in all of my life. And it was so interesting because it was such a happy time simultaneously, having welcomed my first child. But when
you I wish I could see her birthday picture from that year. She didn't look like she had just had a baby.
Yeah.
When you say if you look at her when she got pregnant to her days after, it was like,
yeah, you
snapped your finger and you were like, mommy makeover.
Yes. I might share a picture of it with y'all on our socials. So stay tuned. But I was having a very difficult time on top.
Yeah.
It was so many things competing: the pandemic, not having visitors, not, it being my birthday and I'm not celebrating how I had celebrated for the past couple of years. My body physically doing what it was doing whatever it wanted to do. Our daughter, having this thing. And so I was met face to face very early on in my motherhood journey of nobody told me it was going to be like this.
Yeah.
Nobody told me how different my birthday was going to look.
Yeah.
And given that my birthday is so close to when I gave birth, it was an added layer to that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this has been a sensitive topic for me. And I feel like I'm when I laugh and I smile now, it's from a genuine, like, wow, that was such a...
We did that.
We did that.
We survived that.
So it was a very early reminder of one of the things that I wish someone had warned me about before having had a kid. Just, I think, how things just happen and you just have no control. You just got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
You got to go with the flow. When it comes to birthdays, you have to just be open to how things might evolve and shift.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't the only thing that shifted, you know,
like
God.
So many. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. And I feel like I just remember trying to do everything along with Melissa, my sister, to try to get Tiffany to be smiling and happy and stuff for her birthday. And this was not happening.
Yeah.
I don't think I was aware of how immediate the impact of being postpartum is. So like the impact of like all of your vitamins and nutrients going to your baby, how that just depletes you. What it's like for both of us to be experiencing our baby on this little blue light table just days old because she has to like go through this like blue light therapy in order to get rid of the jaundice. What it's like for you because you're worried, am I producing enough milk? Because really what helps with jaundice is draining. Like they have to be peeing and pooping constantly to get it out of their system. And so you can't, if your body's still just making colostrum, I learned, because now I call myself...
Okay, expert.
Okay, daddy doula. If you're only making colostrum, then... And that happens at first before you get your milk, essentially, right? Right.
You got it. Go ahead.
Then your baby is not able to drink enough to like pee and poop. And then babies that breastfeed pee and poop in a different cadence anyway. They're not constantly releasing it like formula. So it was a whole thing. So then we had to make those decisions like, will we supplement the breastfeeding with formula for a time while she gets better? Because we really just want her to get better.
Right.
And not knowing if that would impact her continuing to latch and breastfeed. And so Tiffany had all of these plans, and she like, first my mama didn't get to be here, so I'm already messed up and upset. They barely wanted Moe to be up in the delivery room, but thankfully I was there. Then you can't really have visitors once you get home, and then you're starting to do baths and you're starting the whole routine of parenthood. So it was a lot. Nobody told me what it was like to be the non-caring parent in all of that. I think I thought I needed to just be strong and not have like a lot of real emotions, because she was going through all of that. Now she has to wear this padded underwear around, which I actually think is pretty cute. The one she got from Always, they're pretty cute.
Yeah, those are cute. Yeah,
they like low rise and whatnot, but
way
it probably
than what they give you at the hospital.
Yeah, it probably didn't feel cute at the time. No. And it probably didn't feel cute to be scared to pee and poop and all that. So I'm just thinking I need to be on for her and be so just focused on Tiffany that I had a little bit of a what the freak is happening probably months later. And I don't think I had realized that I was going through my own version of like a postpartum period.
Yeah.
That people who are non-carrying also go through the postpartum process. And so it's often that we're focused on the person who carried, but people who didn't carry, they're also being altered by this experience. And they feel extremely responsible. And so nobody told me that I would feel that level of responsibility for another human being. And I had to deal with the anxieties that come up. How to be responsible without that being a burden, how to be responsible without worrying about somebody constantly, how to be the right amount of responsible where you care, but not where you're like obsessed. It's the whole thing. And so we had to figure that out together, but nobody told me that. And so they were like, we weren't trying to scare y'all. But sleep deprivation is real. So on top of that, you're trying not to be ridiculous and being responsible and protective while also operating on less sleep. So because I really wanted Tiffany to have the max amount of time away from work, we took unpaid leave at a point because they were like, yeah, you can only have like 4 weeks, I think it was. 3.
Yes.
And she's like, the max time I could be away is 9, so we're just not going to be paid for that because we want to be home with our daughter.
Exactly.
So I went back to working after 2 weeks. Now, mind you, we're all working from home. So I got a little baby. I could hear when downstairs while I'm trying to do therapy sessions. And my heart is just like, I just want to be with my baby.
Yeah.
And my wife. And my clients were so understanding. They were checking on me. They're like, you don't look like you sleeping.
Thank you very much.
I was like, oh my God. I don't know what it felt like to be seen like that in that moment. But they could also tell. But I was able to be present to them. And I didn't know that probably wasn't a great idea, though, to be trying to go back to work and whatnot. But we had to do what we had to do. And it was just good that I work in a helping profession where people are understanding if I needed a different schedule or whatever. So we made it work. But that sleep deprivation definitely adds to unnecessary arguments or just so many things. And so I'm just really glad that we're on the other side of it so we can have these kinds of conversations about what we wish we knew.
Yes, I'm so glad. And, you know, we were experiencing that, and I knew so many other people were experiencing that. And I had made so many friends during this time that I was like, I want to be a support to other people. And so I had always had a huge interest in birthing and maternal and perinatal health. And so I started Birthing the Empress Within during this time and really, I would say, dived head first into doula work. And so one of the first things that I did early on was started a virtual mom group. And that was of caring and non-caring parents, or even just partners who wanted to support during this time. And so it was a really great way to create space and community to talk about these things and work through what was happening, because I realized how much of my own internal work I needed to do as a result of becoming a mother, and how sometimes I just wanted to feel like I wasn't crazy, and to share those experiences. And so we'll get more into additional resources that we use that have been helpful, and things like the What to Expect app to know like where you were at any given point during the pregnancy, but also postpartum. And so those things were really helpful. And so I obviously could go on and on and on about parenting and birthing and particularly postpartum. But I want to hear from some of our listeners. And we have a question.
Well, I was going to say that I really am proud of you for creating what the Birthing the Empress Within. And there are a lot of resources out there. And I think that it's really great that you're able to provide that one-to-one or that person-to-person connection, because I think for the people that you sat with and the community I've seen you build, that human connection really feels important. And we all have our corner of the world to hold up. And so while there are these resources, there's also a need for whatever it is that you provide. So that's also wisdom for anybody that's listening. If there's something that you have to create, even if there are other resources, find where you also are not getting what you need and create that. Because I think that there was this need for you, like What to Expect pretty much held you down. Like it was like everything that you needed. It was everything that you needed during that time period, and helped us even a year after. And another part of what you needed was like Lama's support, or what to do in the birthing room. And so that's where you went to get doula training. Now everybody's not going to go and get doula training. So you were like, well, I'm going to create my own process of being as a doula. You really got into prenatal yoga. And so now you're working on being able to offer all of those kinds of services. And I think that has been beautiful to witness that evolve, because there's a necessary work that we all have to do. And when we learn from our experiences and we see that there is a need, we learn to feel them. So I'm grateful that you decided to do that.
But thank you so much for saying that. I think moving from things I wish I knew and being in the space now of here are the things that I've learned has been it's been a healing process, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Because of the things that we went through. And I appreciate you for saying all that. Sometimes I don't realize how much I've overcome and how much knowledge I've gained, whether it's like through books and trainings, but also real life experiences and situations.
Never discount those real life experiences and situations. No, life is our biggest teacher.
Yes, and life be life.
Life will stay life and stay giving out homework assignments when you're like, okay, absolutely. So those questions that need answers, Tiff.
Okay, so our question today is, I am a carrying parent, and my wife and I will be delivering our first child in the next few months. How do I stay connected with my wife once the baby is here? Any advice on how to support her in staying connected to me?
I'm gonna let you start, Tiff, because this question came in from the perspective of someone who's a caring parent. So I think you can speak directly to that experience. And then of course I'll add my little 10 cents later. But I think this is a lot of the work that you do is you sit with people who are caring or not caring. In this instance, you got two people with the potential to carry, and very likely, we're assuming here, let's make a couple assumptions, but let's say two people here with the potential to carry, but you've got a caring parent who's like really saying, how can I stay connected after the baby is here? And I think that that's beautiful. A lot of times it's the non-caring person asking this question. So to hear someone who is carrying thinking, I really want to stay connected, I think that that's beautiful. So I'll let you take it away.
And it already presents a level of intention or consideration for the non-caring parent. And so a couple of things. I would say first, it's really important to find ways to connect with yourself as a caring parent. I think it's important. I feel like the way to stay the most grounded is to create the time and space, whether it's bits and pieces here or there, to be able to spend time with yourself, whether it's a 30-minute shower versus that 3-minute one that you have to rush and do every day.
30 minutes.
Whatever you can fit in, that's an example, but it might be like sitting in silence for a period of time or taking a nap or whatever the thing is, but finding that intentional point of connection for yourself. So then that's your foundation. That's where you can start. And then you can start thinking about other people.
Yeah.
I think additionally, planning time for intimacy. I always say when it comes to this or when it comes to self-care, these things are not going to just happen. They're not going to fall into your lap. We have to make the time to do it and stick to that time. Now, it could change, but without the intention, it's kind of haphazard. And we know that if we don't make the time, we're going to fill it with something else, right? And so I think creating the time for intimacy. I think getting on the same page about schedules, with you and your partner, what are our schedules look like? Are we going to divvy up bath time this week? Or are we going to am I going to go work out in the morning and you work out in the evening? Whatever that thing is, so that you do create that space to connect with one another. And also being open to how that connection looks. It could be sex after your 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
You know what? Do whatever you do. Okay. I had to say that as a doula, right? I had to advise 6 weeks. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say if they had a surrogate or they adopted baby.
That's true. That is very
true.
Get into
it. But the person in the question is a carrying person.
Right. Yeah. And so being open to what that looks like, I think that another piece that has really worked for Moe and I is we've always been sticklers about sleep when it comes to Nova.
In ourselves.
And in addition to that, creating a space and environment that one feels like hers, and two, that is therapeutic and soothing.
Yeah, I'm for that.
That is, that's a non-negotiable. When other people are babysitting, watching her, she's at other people's homes. We're in tow with the sound machine, everything she needs for a peaceful sleep.
We used to take that diffuser with us for some essential oils. We were not playing.
And those things were so important to us because it ensured that she would get her sleep, we would get our sleep, and that we would begin to create a routine or a system where we would have a container of space to connect in whatever way that looked like. And so those things were really important for us. And it just provided like a lower stress environment. It's already a very stressful, sleep deprived moment in your life having a newborn, and so not having to worry about that piece of it because we had set up the proper foundation for her to have a soothing therapeutic environment, it by default then creates this time and space for us to connect.
And for anybody that wants to know what that looks like, how to set up that kind of space, definitely reach out to Tiffany. I think that's a big part of the work she does is help people to plan prepartum, postpartum, birthing process. She creates plans with people and helps to coach them through what that can reasonably look like in their lives. And then I was going to say too, like as a therapist, when you think about a therapy environment, usually there's like some comfort elements, right? There's something cozy to lay on. And then there is a sound machine to keep the extra noise out. And there's usually something that smells good. So we like to engage the senses. So when you think about a therapeutic environment for your child, it could seem silly, but they're new to the world. Everything is frightening and scary. Those new sights, those new sounds, they're used to the sound of your belly, the fluids in there, your voice, and a little light coming in through that belly, through the skin. But that's pretty much it. So it's not like a ton of light. It's not a lot of sound. And so all of that, the sensation of air on their skin, all of that can just feel so new, difficult, annoying, frustrating. So things as simple as swaddling can help the baby to feel nurtured and cradled like they were in the womb. And so a therapeutic environment can look a lot of ways, but it really does help with sleep. And so if the baby is sleeping and they get into a sleep schedule, you get to sleep. And so it is really, really important to talk about your plan, whether it's to co-sleep, not co-sleep, breastfeed, who's going to do what. And so planning that out with somebody like Tiffany really does help to support the process, make it smooth. So you get to getting back to your intimacy and you get to have some sense of normal again after those first few months. And so doing that well really matters. This is going to move us into our #love resources if possible too. So my advice from a therapy perspective is to sit down with your partner and create an intentional plan for how you're going to navigate the postpartum period. As a therapist, we talk a lot about how marital satisfaction greatly diminishes after the birth of your first child. And it can go through different peaks throughout the course of the relationship, different milestones and life events, but it never really fully returns to where it was prior to having a child. It does have a resurgence after children go away and, as you hit retirement and you have less responsibilities financially and other things, but it doesn't really return to where it was prior to having a child, statistically. Now, I have a lot of thoughts about why that happens, but what I will say is that there are things that we can do about that. I think that had to do with the structure of the society that we lived in, the expectations and the standards we had around child rearing. And there are things that we can do now that can better support our relationships with our children and our partners. And so some of the things that we can do are what Tiffany have already suggested, which is planning and actually having conversations around your time, schedules, and being organized. If you think about your family as a well-functioning organization, business, company, if you will, but let's say organization, you have to have some type of structure or know who's going to do what thing, when, where, how, so that nobody's dropping the ball. Let's say you never have a schedule or a structure around when you get milk, diapers, whatever. You're always out of what you need. That just creates chaos. And so think about how chaos, as simple as not knowing, not having the right amount of diapers, means that you have to stop an extra couple of times here, which then slows down other processes, and it continues to break down at the fabric of the relationship and create unnecessary arguments. That's why marital satisfaction will be down. But if we can continue to schedule, plan, and really be proactive about co-creating what that postpartum period looks like, we're going to be in business. Okay. Business will be booming. Okay. And so from a therapist perspective, I want to say consciously plan that postpartum period, down to talking about when your relatives can come and visit. These are things that we talk a lot about, especially in marriage and family therapy. Statistics will show that it's better for the couple to spend time alone, co-creating what that plan is going to be like and the structure that they want to have with the baby prior to any in-laws coming to visit or stay a long period of time. They can come visit the baby for an afternoon or a weekend, but staying an extended amount of time, like coming and staying a month before you've got your schedule and your structure down as a couple, is not a good idea statistically. A lot of times that's because that person who's more mature or is more experienced at having a kid, usually an in-law, will usually come in and take over and give a lot of their own opinions. And so it's really important that you come up with your own structures prior to that happening. Planning time for date nights, having people you trust to watch your children so you're not worried about them constantly, and then having this, again, quality schedules around your own relationship time is just important.
I echo everything that you're saying. And I also, when we say couple or we say, parents, that it's so many different dynamics for what that looks like. So it could be if you're co-parenting and you're not in a relationship, or whatever the dynamic is. So please substitute couple for whatever situation fits for you.
If you've got many different parents, or you've got other supportive partners. Let's say you started you met somebody sometime into your pregnancy, and now they're going to be supporting whatever that looks like for you. Be your own love goals. So definitely, I love that you said that. We honor all relationships around here. So
even in the case that there was a surrogate and the birthing person is no longer present or in the dynamic, these things are still very possible to happen or feel as present. So just recognize that,
like marital satisfaction,
right, or
relationship
satisfaction, or having to deal with these different things postpartum, or having to navigate boundaries for yourself.
Or if you're not in an actual relationship any longer with, let's say you actually had a baby with a particular person, whether you all did IVF or you had them via penetrative sex, whatever your thing was. Let's say you're not with that person anymore. Your relationship satisfaction can still be impacted. Even if you're trying to co-parent peacefully. There are so many things that are happening. And if you're going through postpartum, you each might be going through that. It's going to be harder and harder to communicate unless you're very intentional. And so it might not feel like you need to sit down and have conversation and co-create with them thigh to thigh, but you kind of still need to do that, even if you are just co-parenting, because you have to develop some type of friendship. Okay, well, now we're not in a romantic relationship. How do we work on our friendship? You all might have to still really try to go out and hang out together. I mean, that's next level. I mean, you might call that modern parenting, But I want somebody who's listening to try to co-parent from a
Yeah.
place of like, I actually want to be this person's friend.
Exactly.
How can you all transition the relationship to something else? I'm going to challenge you to do that.
Exactly.
Because it will help your postpartum experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We are all about being your own love goals. And so any dynamic relationship that's present as a result of becoming parents or a new one entering the world, I just wanted to offer that we see you. We recognize that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Truth or truth, Tiff?
Truth or truth. So truth or truth, I'm so excited about is a segment where that derived from our love for playing games, whether it was Friday date night or game night. We loved playing Truth or Dare. And oftentimes it was probably me that was giving very ridiculous types of dares. And so our game kind of transitioned to Truth or Truth. So we answered questions. And so here we just want to ask questions that might be reminiscent of would you rather, or what we call here as truth or truth. So I'm going to go right in with the question.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mo.
Yeah.
Would you rather have 7 kids?
That's a lot.
7. Siete.
Okay.
Kids. Or have none.
Sete.
Or have none.
We're going to just have to go ahead and have 7 kids.
We meaning.
You have to push 7 kids out of there.
Whew. Is that your
Could you
final
imagine
answer?
not having kids? I can't imagine not having Nova. So it's like, well, if I guess we have to keep going, we're going to have to keep going.
Yeah. Right, because what if she was the 7th child?
Yeah.
Whew.
I couldn't even imagine not having Nova.
Oh, no. I mean, yeah, if the options are 7 or none, I guess I'm taking 7.
But that's just like the place of privilege, I guess, because we have Nova. So we're like, man.
That's true.
But then when we make Nova's life hard, she wouldn't get the same life if we had to keep having kids.
That's true. See, I'm a person who has just always felt the desire to mother and have children.
Yeah. But can you really be present when you have that many kids and like nurture them authentically?
I mean, I believe it's possible in some reality.
You have to be extremely present.
Yes.
You couldn't work.
Right.
And be a mother the way you want a mother.
Right. In the context of would you rather, where I have to make a choice between these two, I'm choosing 7. It is not the most ideal,
to be a 100 millionaire.
Oh yeah.
So that they can have like the right
schools. Can we get 100 billionaire?
100 billionaire. We don't need that much money for 7 kids. 100 million is enough for 7 kids.
I'm just adding on
a little extra. Mm-hmm. Because to make $1 billion, then I have to be extremely busy.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So we'd have to be married in some money where we were born with that kind of money and then have the 7 kids.
Okay. Let's go find the money.
I'm just kidding. This game kidding. This game could be a game of like splitting hairs.
Yeah.
It's like
it really
define.
And with would you rather, you kind of have to choose what's on the table, but you could find like loopholes.
Yeah.
7 kids for me versus none. No judgment for anybody who chooses none, because 7 kids is a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, 7 kids, can they really go on vacations, right? You really would have to have the resources.
And a village.
Where you can pay people to just nurture, to not work, so that you can just have family all the time. Mm-hmm. Because that's the only way this gets done.
Babe.
I love you all.
We love you all.
This has been a really interesting episode. Just to recap, I really want you all to reach out to Tiffany if you all are thinking about planning your family or you're just wanting support in moving forward in planning, you want doula services if you're here in Atlanta, or you just want to have a coach that can walk you through the prenatal, postpartum, birthing process, whatever part of the process you're in. So reach out to Tiffany. Or if you just want coaching around balancing life and motherhood or parenthood or womanhood, whatever your journey is, she's like a really great resource. I know I'm a therapist, but her empathy far surpasses mine.
No, if it surpasses.
Well, I'm just honored. I feel like that's her natural thing. I went to school to really adapt those qualities and be a better person in the world. So I'm really grateful to be her husband.
Thank you.
And that's what I want y'all to take away from this episode. Tiffany is a really great resource. Anything you want them to take away, Tiff?
Be your own love goals. And that goes for relationships when it comes to parenting, whether you're married, whether you're co-parenting, whatever the dynamic. Be your own love goals and create the environment and space necessary for you all to have a thriving relationship that serves the highest good of all, especially the children that are involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. Be your own love goals. This has been Be Your Own #Love Goals podcast with Moe Ari
and Tiffany.
You all have a great day and be well.
Bye. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Video episodes are on YouTube and Spotify.
If you want your question included in an upcoming episode, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Be Your Own Love Goals, or check out our website at lovegoalspodcast.com. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
Bye.